Hello everyone, welcome to this video. Here we'll look into how we can abuse misconfigured GPO DACLs to escalate our privileges within a domain. We'll look at how we can enumerate GPO permissions, write malicious config, and link GPOs to run our malicious commands. So first, let's talk about theory a little bit, like what GPOs are, what we can do with them, how they can be misconfigured. So first, the group policy object or GPOs. If you open GPO management here, these are basically instruction files that are used in Active Directory to apply different configurations at scale. Here we'll have like different GPOs in my domain. We can look at permissions. For example, disable defender. You can go into settings and it's going to generate a report, and you can see what it actually does here. Next one we have is the linkage itself. Like they could be linked to different locations. So the different levels where we can link GPOs are site, which is going to be like marvel.local site, or it could be the entire domain. Now, for example, like marvel.local is the domain, but it can have multiple sites, so you can link it to a site. Or you can link it to an organizational unit, such as DemoComputers, domain controllers, group users. So that's kind of how you apply those. And usually you can see in the scope where those are linked, and if it's linked and if it's enforced. Sometimes these GPOs have delegation permissions. So for example, here you can go into delegation. You can by default only, as you can see, very secure, very permissive groups have the kind of permissions to edit, delete, modify GPOs, but sometimes you have to delegate it to, for example, service desk or other people in a domain, and you would give them edit, delete, modify, and they would be able to change those settings and modify GPOs and create configurations. Sometimes you may compromise an account that has write permissions over GPO, meaning they can write whatever configuration they want in here. So for example, here's my setup. If I go into delegation, we can see that user fcastle has permissions over this GPO, so they can modify it. The other part, as I mentioned, is GPO linkage. So this who has permissions or rights to link GPO somewhere. As I mentioned, those can be linked at different levels, such as site, domain, organizational unit. So these are not defined here. Those are actually security DACLs on the objects itself. So if I go into view and go into advanced features, and we go into, let's do DemoComputers because that's what we'll be working with. And I go into properties, and I go into security, and I go into advanced, and let's just choose a random person. Oh, let's just choose a fcastle user, click edit. And if we scroll down, there's this special permission, GPO link. So this would actually allows users to link GPOs to different objects. Alright, so yeah, as I mentioned, those permissions are set on the objects themselves, and yeah, for example, if I have a user has permissions to modify GPO as fcastle in this instance, and they have permission to link GPO to demo computers, so we can potentially compromise all of these computers, and that's what I'm going to demo. Because GPO is going to be applied to either all the systems, or we can filter what system it's going to apply to be more stealthy or less disruptive. So hopefully this gives you a better kind of understanding of how it works, and that will make more sense now to understand how it can be misconfigured. Actually do full screen here for you, that'll be better. So yeah, as well as permissions are all explained. So yeah, here now let's just jump into my lab environment. Lots of rambling, I know. So here as always have my Kali machine. I have my demo PC that will attack. Oh, that's login. It's not good. And I have my domain controller. So first thing we want to start is with enumeration. Why is it not like full screen? Weird. So first thing we need to, as always, find a way to what users actually have the permissions to modify GPO or link GPO or both, because sometimes GPO is already linked and we don't need to link it, but we can modify it, and then we can compromise all the objects that GPO is applied to. But here in this environment, we'll look into the full cycle, like we'll modify GPO and we'll link it, and we'll also clean it up too, because we don't want to leave the environment in a bad state. So I'll show you two different ways to enumerate GPOs, two and a half. We'll use PowerView first because it's Windows native and you can do it from Windows. It's a little bit more complicated and more complex, but I think that it's good to show you here how it works. And the second one I'll show you is BloodHound, which is super easy, but can be a little bit noisier as well. So yeah, let's go into my tools directory and let's import PowerView real quick. So first, to list all GPOs, we do get the main GPO, and we just select display name, the main, I misspelled it, properties, display name, if I could spell it. So yeah, here are all the GPOs we have in the main. In the real environment, it's going to be much more, but it doesn't matter because we'll enumerate at scale. And here we can also see which one of those are linked. So we just search scope base and we search for property as GP link. And I also like to do a file to filter list. So this are kind of the ones that are linked. Usually if you expand on one of these GPOs, you will see that they have this distinguished name. That's the actual name. And this is just like their display name, which doesn't really matter. So usually compare their distinguished name to whether they're linked or not. So these are, apologize, don't remember right now what this number stands for, but I think this one's like it's enforced. This one is just enabled, but it's not linked anywhere. So here you can kind of like just Google it and enumerate policies that are linked and their different settings, but doesn't matter too much. What we want to know is want to find any non-domain admin user that has permissions to modify a GPO. So that's what's important. I'm gonna paste this long and kind of scary PowerView command, but let's break it down real quick. So first we get all domain GPOs. Then we're gonna look at their ACLs and see, we're gonna compare for this specific ACLs, create child, write property, delete child, delete tree, and where their SID of the user who has the ACL doesn't match the SID of like domain admins, enterprise admins, so it's essentially this is SID outside of like built-in privilege groups. So let's run this and see what we get. So we can see like this GPO, this DN. There's the user with this SID, which is not an like regular admin user that has right owner and all the sexual permissions. So we can see who this user is real quick from PowerView using convert from SID. And we can see it's fcastle. So essentially what it does is enumerating these permissions in the delegation settings. Alright, so now we know we can for example, we compromise this user and we know that we can modify GPO, but now we need to know who can link it. So here's another command from PowerView, which is a little bit more complicated, but it's gonna essentially look through all the OUs and it's gonna look for the GP link right and see who has this ACL. And it's gonna give us the SID of that user. Actually, we can read from SID, never mind. So yeah, we can see that our user fcastle again not only can write to a GPO settings, he can also link it to DemoComputers OU, which, as I showed here, that's what he can do. But it's essentially the long way using PowerView. It's a little bit more complex, but you still get the same results. Second one is using BloodHound, which is much easier. Oh, my VM is going crazy. So here, if we go to BloodHound, I already collected all the data using RustHound. If you want to know how to use RustHound, go check out my previous video. Here, we'll search for fcastle, our user, choose them, and then we'll select outbound object control. It's gonna have quite a few. Essentially, here we can see that one, we can write the GP link to this OU. That's a default PowerView. And he can write, has generic right, I DACL everything over delegate GPO. Over delegate GPO. That's a mouthful, but you get it. So essentially, it's easier to visualize it with BloodHound, but again, BloodHound's a little bit more noisy, collects a little bit more data. But here's how you would enumerate it. There's also a way to use it using DACL edit from InPacket, but it requires quite a bit of scripting, so I'm not gonna show it in this video. The other tool you can quickly use is called GroupPolicyBackdoor from Synacktiv. This is also pretty good, like if you have a user and you want to just enumerate all the GPOs and you want to see if you have some kind of permissions over them, command would look like this. So you just do, you need to install it first, but then you do GPO enum, GPO details, their default domain stuff, credentials, and you give the GPO name, but you can script it like to go over every GPO, and you do -- check right. And it's gonna enumerate it real quick unless my domain controller died. Oh, all my VMs died. Let me pause the video 1 second. Alright, we're back. Yeah, my VMs just died. Let's run this command again. So yeah, we can see that our user is gonna check the current user for ACLs has write permissions over this GPO called delegate GPO, and we can see the distinguished name here or canonical name. Alright, so now let's move into the attack phase. Let's see how we can abuse it. So again, we'll use the Synacktiv tool because I think it's the most versatile one. There's also a way to use GPO abuse, it's called, which is also a decent tool. Or you can use sharp GPO abuse, which works from Windows. I just think Synacktiv tool is the best one as it provides like lots of versatility and it's easier to restore GPO once you modify it. So I'll be showing this one. So the attack actually involves two steps as I mentioned. First, we need to modify the GPO that I have write permissions over, which is gonna be DemoComputers in our case. And the second one is we need to actually link it to the OU have permissions, which is gonna be DemoComputers in our case. But we want to be careful usually because OU sometimes have lots of computers or users, so we want to scope it. And that's also where this tool comes in. So I'll show you real quick. So first it has multiple templates, module templates. These are basic things you can do. You can create some custom ones, but for this demo, this can be enough. So I'll choose this immediate task create. So I just see I made some modifications. So essentially you can type like any command you want here. We'll just create a basic subscribe.txt file. And here we can specify filters, which are really good. So you can specify the computers you want it to affect. In my case, it's going to be PyShowin10.marl.local. I only want to apply it to this computer, but if you use PyGPO abuse, it's gonna apply to everything. I don't remember if there's a way to add filters there. I think not last time I used it. Here you can see if we apply it to every computer in this demo, it's gonna affect 3 computers. But here will only affect 1, which is just reduce the scope and will still allow us to escalate privileges. So let's do this. So we'll save it. And first we're gonna inject our malicious config into the GPO, and the command's gonna look like this. So it's gonna be GP backdoor inject our regular domain stuff. Then we're gonna specify this module that we just modified, immediate task create, and we're gonna specify the GPO name, and we're gonna use LDAP-S, And we're gonna specify dash verbose flag to give us some verbosity. Hit enter. And yeah, looks like it gets a scheduled task with all the parameters. And now we're gonna link it, because second part is we have to link it to an OU. So here we just specify the OU, again the GPO name and the verbosity. So it is linked. And good news, all the config is stored here, state files. So here you can just take this and restore it, which I'm gonna show later. This is basically how you clean it up. You basically revert all your settings. So now we'll quickly do GP update first here. Update first. So that's just to force GPO application to make sure we don't have to wait. And here if we go to the GPO, they don't have any settings. Now if we go in here, delegate GPO settings. First you can see that it's linked now. Now we go to schedule tasks. There is one. Into journal. And see, this is our command to create subscribe.txt and execute who am I. So let's go back on the endpoint. It should have updated its policy by now. Not yet. So we should see a file called subscribe.txt here once it picks up the GPO. Let's wait a little bit. Do have lots of junk here. Usually GPOs are picked up every half an hour, I believe. You might also, admins might also change it. Also, they get picked up on a reboot. So essentially, usually even if you do this attack and you don't do GPO update first, it still gets picked up very quickly. Just gonna force it to not make the video too long. It's taking a while to do the update, which is kind of strange. Oh, it froze for a second. Maybe it did freeze. Is it shutting down on me? Oh, nothing yet. So we should see a scheduled task here. Right, I'm just gonna pause the video, wait for it to update for GPO to pick up, and then we'll resume and I'll show you that command executed. Okay, looks like it updated. Let's see if we got our file. And yeah, here we go, we got subscribe.txt, and if we look inside, it ran a system, so we did execute our command that we sent, which was, I'll show you the modules. That's not it. Module templates, immediate task rate. Yep, this one. Say I execute who am I as system and put it into subscribe.txt. But you can run any command, or you can just like add your user to the local admins on this machine, and this would work similarly. So yeah, that's kind of the video in a nutshell. Let me show you how to do a quick cleanup after we did this. So essentially every time you run this tool, it creates this state folders, which it captures the configuration of it, and you can undo it. So first thing first is we want to unlink the GPO. This unlinked, and now what we want to do is we want to clean up. So here we just choose the folder with the current configuration. We're gonna use this one. I think this should be correct. And yeah, it undid it. Yep. And now if we go to the main controller and look at the GPO, look at links, we can see it's unlinked. And if we look at settings, there's nothing. So we effectively compromised the system using GPO DACLs, and we cleaned up after ourselves, which is what we always should do when we're on engagement, or if we're doing some kind of pen testing or testing something internally as a blue teamer. As per defense, as always, just make sure you monitor your DACLs using something like BloodHound. It's very simple. You just go like, hey, this is a normal user. Why does he have these permissions? Just set it up, run some cipher queries, and just go from there. Alright, I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you. Bye.